Our goal was basically like, let's have Josh produce the best possible track that we can produce and then just tank it with the lyrics. Like just
that and so much more coming right up on today's episode of The Pod Spotter. We are here to fill the role of looking for great content for you. We are your podcast procurator. If you like this show, please check us out and visit us at thepodspotter.com and on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at thepodspotter for lots of good stuff. And please leave a review, a good one, a bad one, doesn't matter. All press is good press. Subscribe, rate, review, judge us on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word. We release every Monday with a great new review of a new pod, and we're just going to keep plowing ahead whether you like it or not. So please keep listening. And if you have suggestions for pods that you think we should feature, drop us a note on any of our social media platforms or at thepodspotter.com. Thanks, everybody. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's really a pleasure. I've been screening hundreds of podcasts.
Pod people, Broadway is shut down till 2021, but we here at the Pod Spotter have identified a pod where you can go right now and hear 6 fully produced Broadway caliber shows. However, these are the unsung productions, the might-have-beens, the almost made-its. 2 self-proclaimed buffoons have written musicals that are, shall we say, not good. But blinded by their own arrogance, they have convinced some of Broadway's finest stars to appear in the brand new podcast, Musicals That Never Made It. Our guests today are actor-comedian Gabe Gibbs, alongside his writing partner and musical producer Josh Colyer. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you? Thank you for being here.
Hey.
Hello, thank you.
We are well. Thanks for having us, Zack.
Yes, thank you so
we've
much.
really enjoyed the pod here. We have been screening hundreds, and a lot of what we hear is, 2 friends just yammering on in a microphone and cracking jokes. And not that there isn't value in that. You'll get some
Sure.
funny content there. But when you come across one like yours that clearly puts so much effort and work into producing what amounts to basically a full, Broadway show, it stands to be recognized, and we want to share it with people. And I think that more people should be listening to your pod because it's darn good. And I just want to kick things off with, so people know what we're talking about, a song that kind of grabbed my attention early and will grab listeners early when they hear it, and probably because it sounds fairly similar to other stuff that might be out there in the zeitgeist. Let's listen to quickly a song from A Loop de Loop, My Lady.
I love you, darling, but do you think you can design a ride better than Mr. Ferris?
I know I can, my dear wife, and I respect your concerns, but a ride should be just like life. It should have twists and turns. To mimic life flying by, it should gain forward ground. To mimic when you ask why, it should go upside down.
Upside down?
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you're up late each night? You've been gone every eve.
For the best, you must believe I'm at the shop, at my desk, angling lines with my protractor. But to be the very best, a loop-de-loop is what I'm after. And around, practically still, I want off this Ferris wheel. I wanna go upside down and up a hill. I want more, an actual thrill.
Beautiful. Inspired maybe by musicals that are out there, but these are all original shows. Guys, please describe your podcast as though you were describing it to your aunt at a family gathering who has never heard it before and maybe doesn't even know what a podcast is.
Right.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's if she doesn't know what a podcast is, it's a digital radio show, and no podcasts, where I guess you could say Josh and I have created sort of alternate personas of ourselves that are musical composers, just aching to be heard in the sphere of other musical composers. But we have written essentially terrible musicals, but we force Broadway stars for one reason or another to star in these musicals that are, of course, listenable. Like, we couldn't write like music that you can't listen to or is like unsatisfying to the ear, but like the premises are terrible. And it sort of kind of feels like when you go to see, those children's recitals that you go to see that are underwhelming in a nice way. Those people don't stop making things, and so we sort of felt like we were those boys that grew up and no one ever said, hey, maybe don't,
Yeah, we just kept getting encouragement and affirmation from people to keep going.
Mostly from ourselves.
Yeah, they're big shows, there's big themes, there's big ideas, but they're all centered around these very seemingly simple and everyday mundane things. Big musicals about silly little things.
Yes.
Right. There was a bit of a balance we had to find to where you could totally see these two guys thinking that this is a great idea.
Gibbs and Colyer, by the way, you guys, that's the name of, that sounds like Sondheim, and that sounds like Rodgers and Hart,
funny.
So good. Did you workshop Colyer and Gibbs for? Or you're like, no, it's got to be.
Well, that's funny. It does go. It could go both ways, but usually Colyer does have a nicer ending to it.
Finishes it off.
It's
nice.
very astute and prestigious. Colyer.
Yeah, but that's true. That's true, Josh. It does feel like being a guy. I'm a actor boy who's done a lot of these like workshops of bad musicals, and every time you're in a bad one, you're like, oh, I see how you could think that this is great. Like you could convince yourself this is great.
Right.
And so we tried to tap into like, these boys could possibly believe that maybe it's a really good idea.
When you are in those rooms and you're workshopping new material, is there a moment where you're like, oh, this is a musical that's never going to make it? When is that? Because everyone comes with the best intentions. Everyone's talented. You show up. People have obviously put in years of thought. It takes a tremendous amount just to get it to that stage.
Right.
But have you specifically? Yeah, go ahead.
I would say just personal experience. There is this thing that like, obviously the creator never has any clue. Because otherwise it wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like the writer of the musical never knows. And I won't name any names at all, of course. But there is a moment I have found where it's the first day of rehearsal or the second day of rehearsal when a couple of the actors who didn't know each other before decide to like, hey man, you want to get coffee before this? Or you want to like get coffee after this? And then there's like a split second where you're all chit-chatting and you're kind of dancing around it, seeing if like this person's maybe having more fun than I am at this or whatever. And then there's that moment of like, this show, huh? It's fun, huh? That's kind of how you got to start. Is like, it's a fun one, huh?
Just
wild,
poking,
right?
just gauging, just gauging,
seeing,
like, so that the transcript of the conversation reads straight up. This is fine.
Yes,
it's all just telepathy.
Yes,
we are in
exactly
something weird right now.
yes.
And so this podcast becomes a celebration of those weird productions that are carried through to fruition maybe a little longer than they should. But when I got to tell you, like listening to it, you're like, because of the conceit and because of how you set us up for them to be bad musicals, it is such a surprise when like I'm jamming to these songs and they're good, like they're actually good. And I don't know, like is that deliberate? Is that a tactic to just sort of undersell what you're doing and then no, here's some beautiful songs actually.
It was clear that the production and the actual sound and flow of the song would be good enough for people to continue to listen to and to engage with. The thing that derails it is the idea for the song and the lyrics. But everything else, like we wanted the beat to be like just knocking. We wanted it to be an actual like great production, which is like I spent a lot of time just trying to make it as good as I could. But what makes it go down real quick is when like the verse comes in and then you realize it's just really bad lyrics, and no one should be writing a song because of this reason.
Can you talk about that time, the time that goes into it? Because from sort of soup to nuts there, from like, here's the song, it's about roller coasters, and just producing one episode. Like, I know how much goes into, I'm just talking to people, and there's a ton of work that goes into this, but I can't imagine. Go ahead, if you want to just discuss quickly.
We, writing it was just me and Gabe sending voice memos to each other and just trying to create a song that way, back and forth. And he'd send me something, and then I would just put it into my recording software and try and create a feel out of what he's.
And what does that sound? Is that just audio? That's just him, like a melody?
Yeah, so I would send him like, my version of the story is that I send Josh like terrible bones of a song, and then he goes, "You mean like this?" And then it's like way better than what I would have intended. Of course, Josh and I are always underselling, but we sort of identify, like we take the crap idea or the title of the show, and then in musical theater structure, you have like typical song moments that service story beats, and we like to like find like, oh, it would be so funny. Like in musical theater, there's the I Want song, which is like usually beginning of act one. It's the main character laying out their sort of arc. So you have like that kind of that exists in every musical. And then usually your end of act one is like all the characters coming back together and my mic, all your characters coming back together and sort of declaring like, this is where we're at and blah, 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 blah. Here comes intermission. Then you've got, all these different beats. So we take our terrible idea, and we look at like, oh, what would be the crappiest I Want song we could write? Or what would be like the worst, like 11 o'clock number where the character finally figures out what they really needed all along kind of stuff. And then we take it from like sort of that umbrella level. And then I send Josh like a mini feel, which is me on voice memo going, playing some chords and a little bit of a melody maybe and nonsense words. Send it to Josh. He sends back a beefier version of that, which Josh, I'm sure you can speak more to it. You receive a little rinky-dink voice memo
you receive
from me.
bad bones from Gabe. And what do you and the doctor goes to work.
Yeah,
what do you,
and the doctor goes to work. So
I try and just figure out the chords really quick of what he's doing, and then I think of like an idea of it's really important in music production to always nail how you want a song to feel. So if that always has to be in the back of your mind, like, okay, this song has to accomplish this goal for making you feel this certain way. And so I would take what he would do, and I would always keep that idea in my mind. And so I would just throw in ideas that I thought served the feeling of the song. And so I would sometimes pick purposefully bad sounds because this needs to sound like a bad version of some old 80s opera or whatever it is. And I would just go down that path as hard as I can. And we would just send it back and forth to each other until we had like an actual song that was that achieved the goal of feeling a certain way. So,
but yeah, our goal was basically like, let's have Josh produce the best possible track that we can produce. I mean, of course, don't want to make it like perfectly good. We still want to have like bad patches and like things that make it sound clunky, but have Josh produce the best possible song and then just tank it with the lyrics. Like just, you know what I mean? Like start with like, our formula is bad bones, good Josh, bad lyrics again. Yeah. And then you arrive with this sort of middle ground of like a listenable song with like terrible lyrics.
Yeah. And so how long is an episode? I mean, to get it from Bad Bones to that is that, I mean,
it's hard to say exactly how long it takes because we wrote these 6 episodes in like 3 or 4 weeks.
This is like a season. This is season 1.
This is a season of writing. We wrote it all we had to set deadlines for ourselves, so we had to do it within 3 or 4 weeks. So we wrote. We probably spent, I don't know. So what is that? Like 4 days? 4 days per episode?
Yeah.
5 days
at the tail
for
end
writing
at the tail end it got really quick. I think our first episode, before we like figured out kind of the structure that we want, we kind of toyed around with Oprah's Day Off for a while until we settled on a structure that we liked.
Right.
And then after that, we were kind of running out of time because we already had flights booked for New York. So,
Right.
So it came to like
to record with people, right? Because you guys you're in
people,
Detroit. Great.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we had to have working demos of all the songs before we went, and we had to send those to them 10 days out so that they could learn them.
And are you giving notes to them? Are you directing them in any way? Or are you just saying, hey, whatever you want to do? Like,
so it was a little bit of me half directing and kind of also trying to do the stuff and then deferring to Josh to make sure he got what he needed. So for the most part, we kind of let him rock.
cool.
Yeah.
Unless they were like, I'm like really good friends with Gray Henson, so I don't mind telling him what to do. But
Okay.
everyone else is like buddies who I have like done gigs with or have hung out with. For the most part, we tried to be notes free unless there was something that like we couldn't understand or whatever. But
And when you approach these buddies and you're presenting them with, hey, I want you to sing about grip tape on a skateboard. Like how is that? Like, is there any fear of like, are they going to be down with this? Like, do they get it? Generally, do your guests kind of get it? Or do you have to sort of like, this is a fun thing we're doing. Just go with it.
Right.
Yeah, I would say, Josh, you felt like everybody, I felt like everybody got it because we sent the demos and everybody understood. And we also, you know, in the texts and phone calls and emails that we sent, you know, there's like in big bold, like, this is supposed to be bad. Like this, you know,
Okay,
like
you got it. Yeah.
just letting you know, like,
That's how
we
you
know this is a bad idea. That's the point, you know.
Exactly.
So bad, it's good. Let's listen to a little Gray Henson and Ollie Oxenfree singing about that grip tape on a skateboard.
I can feel my momentum is only slowing, 'cause you are the wheels to my trucks. Without you, I'm not sure I can keep going. Don't worry, my friend. The task is set for me to destroy that LLC. Don't worry, my friend. I'll do whatever it takes. My skater heart breaks for you.
I'm standing in my kitchen, I'm doing my dishes, and I'm like, what? Why am I feeling things right now? What is happening?
Yeah, those are the most emotional decisions for chords you could have made.
LLCs. Okay, so this is now you're revealing to me your secret now. You said that this is a moment where you're like, okay, how's the audience supposed to feel? This is Josh manipulating me with a series of chords. A song, a ballad you may have heard a million times before, but it works.
Right.
And so it's formulaic a bit, but it works, right?
If you were to mute the vocal, this could work in like a beautiful moment at the end of like a love story.
Yeah.
But the solo, the vocal, it's just, you're right. Singing about LLCs and skateboards and
And you're just using science and knowledge to manipulate my human body because of years of musical knowledge. Man, I feel I'm a pawn in your game, Josh Colyer, and I like it. And I like it.
Preach.
That's Ollie Oxenfree. That is episode 2, I believe it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that was fun. That was super fun.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, I'm watching you guys have so much fun listening to it now, but it sounds like so much effort to make. And I guess I'm just curious about like, when is this process rewarding for you? When is it fun? Like, at what point is it?
It's fun. It's like there are different levels and stages of fun throughout. It's for me, I love doing what I do so that I could hear the final thing, to really really just sit down and listen to what we've done. So this is super fun for me because I haven't heard these since they aired.
Wow.
And so it's kind of bringing me back to writing and then finessing and then recording and mixing and all that. So this is probably the most fun I've had. Probably outside of recording it with Gray himself, but this is super fun to go back and listen to. Yeah,
totally agree. The recording was a blast.
So much fun. Oh
yeah, if we didn't have, so we recorded all 6 episodes in 3 days, which was nuts. So it was basically like recording. Every episode's like 3 to 5 songs. So it was like record an EP in the morning and then record an EP in the afternoon, basically.
Yeah.
So it was chaos, but it was like. Yeah, I would say that's where the fun for sure came. But I agree, Josh. I was realizing that we were both jamming because I haven't heard this in like a month or 2.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
And you can sit back. You just get to sit back and enjoy it now. It's the thing that you made.
Just put it on Spotify and let it just fill your house.
Have listeners dubbed themselves anything yet? It's a sort of a big sign of podcast. That's when you've achieved some sort of podcast notoriety, when listeners give themselves a nickname. Are there any for your listeners that you've heard from friends or family?
Dang, no.
Can I workshop some?
Yes, Zach.
Well, I've been referring to them as M&Ms, musicals that never made it. These are M&Ms and M&Mers.
That's good.
We might receive a little backlash from Big Candy, but I think we're fine. I think it's fine.
I'm not worried about. Yeah. Bring it on, Big Candy.
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay.
And that's true. You wrote a musical about defying big corporations. You know how to handle this. But so I found some real life M&Mers, some real life musicals that never made it, and
interesting.
Trivia is a bit of we do a regular trivia segment on this show, and I thought I'd ask you guys some questions about some real life M&Mers to see how well you do. But you're not playing for nothing here. Okay. There are high stakes on this trivia game here on the Podspotter. You'll see some pod swag behind me on the beautiful bookshelf.
Yes.
Should you answer these trivia questions correctly, musicals that never made it will live here in perpetuity. They'll go up on the wall forever. All of time will advertise your podcast forever. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions about real life M&Ms. The musical is not the candy. And we'll see how well you do. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm very ready.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Here we go.
No Googling. This musical, which contained irreverent treatment of Christian themes, extensive profanity, and surreal images, such as a trope of a tap-dancing Ku Klux Klan, ran for 609 productions and won 4 Laurence Olivier Awards, including Best New Musical. Name that M&M. Irreverent Christian themes, lots of profanity, tap-dancing Ku Klux Klan members. Ran for 609 productions. I believe at the West End.
Gosh. Oh, man. I want to say Spam-A-Lot, but I don't think it's Spam-A-Lot because that
made it.
Did do well.
I think that made it.
Ku Klux Klan, Irreverent Christian... There's a musical about I'm drawing a blank. There's a musical about a Christian boy band. I'm not kidding. It's called, that actually did well. What is it called?
5 seconds.
There's like 3. I don't know what it is. Josh, you know what it is?
Keep those hands up, Josh. Keep those hands up, Josh.
Sorry.
No.
You know what's funny about musicals is I don't know anything about musicals.
We pass on that one.
That is Jerry Springer, the opera.
Oh my gosh, I've seen it.
Goodness.
You've seen it? Oh no.
I've seen it. They did it off Broadway a couple of years ago at some place in New York. It's insane. Act 1 is Act 1 of that show is actually amazing. Act 2 it gets a little whatever, but Act 1 of that show is actually really good.
Oh wow, who plays Jerry?
I don't know who played him in this. It was an actor I didn't know, but he was very good. Yeah, he was right on.
Sounds fantastic. Was there any fighting in the audience? Anybody get no scuffles ensued?
There's like plants. They like
put
actors in and they set it all. It's very
immersive.
Very fun.
It's immersive.
Yeah. Immersive theater, which everyone.
Well, you got that one wrong, unfortunately, but you can still win a place for your pod swag if you answer these 2 questions correctly.
Oh, Josh.
This is going to be a sound cue. This song is a showstopper from a very famous M&M. It was to be the sequel to a musical that very much made it. The original very much made it. This is the sequel. Have a listen and then name that M&M.
Then one night your baby coughs a cough, but you go on, you both go on. All those brilliant doctors laugh it off, but you go on, yes you go on.
This is a hard one. I'm asking hard questions. This is
Zach,
okay.
I thought I had an idea before you did that.
You should go with that. Go with your gut.
I know it's wrong. I know it's
no.
wrong.
Sequel to a very, very popular musical.
See, that's why I thought I was right. I thought you were going to play something from Love Never Dies, which was the sequel to The Phantom of the Opera, which also was a musical that only half made it.
Yeah.
Did that ever hit Broadway? That musical that never made it?
I don't know if it ever did. It definitely did the West End and it definitely toured,
Okay.
but I don't know if it made it. But it was fine. It was just like, somebody quick, write this one. The other one made so much money.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be what happened with the production of this song, which is from Annie 2, the musical.
Annie 2?
Annie 2.
Wow.
$7 million spent on this sophisticated sequel, which focused on the revenge of Miss Hannigan. No orphans. Almost no orphans in it. And Annie has like 15 minutes of stage time. It's all Miss Hannigan just running around being crazy. And
Wait, that is... I'm going to do a lot more research.
you got to do a deep
because-
dive into it. There are some
Yeah,
amazing
that
YouTube
is
videos of this
amazing.
production. Yeah, Annie
Whoa.
2. Don't worry. There's only one question left, but there might be some time for questions later to redeem yourself and get Pod Glory up on the bookshelf. I have one more question
man.
for you.
I'm
This
just
is
aching
for fun.
Pod Glory, Zach.
It'll be. It's there for you.
Glory.
Just keep grasping.
Okay.
Last question. That doesn't really matter. We'll just ask it just for fun. After opening to mixed reviews, this musical was really close to being a musical that never made it. But when its cast recording of the original production entered Billboard Cast Album Charts top 10 in July of 2017, an off-Broadway run was granted and later 177 performances on Broadway. Name that musical. Public sentiment lifted this musical in 2017 from obscurity to Broadway glory.
I
Name
think
that.
I know.
Do it, Gabe.
Go.
Is it Be More Chill?
It very much is Be More Chill.
Yes.
Lovely. Redemption. All right.
Oh, thank God. Oh.
1 out of
Oh my
3.
God.
But don't worry, there may be time for questions later. It's so funny. You Josh, you have no, there's no musical in your background that you draw from. Like, did you do musicals or do you just like, I don't get them. I don't understand them.
I never watched them growing up. I was never into performing musicals. So I just don't know much about them. So it's just like, something would come up and I don't know. I'm just music producer. So he gets me an idea.
But the songs of your podcast are all like, it's just good collaboration, huh?
It's just good. Yeah, he's making sure that I'm on the right musical track, and then I'll just fill in the gaps with my music knowledge, and then we'll call that a day.
That's fascinating. Yeah. It's so funny.
The only musicals I know are the ones that my wife loves that has me watch with her. Which are just like the classics.
Yeah.
So,
were there any early forms of this podcast before it became this, where you are working together and you're collaborating about like, we want to make something, we want to do something, or was it always this? Did it always exist as this? Just in creating this podcast, it had gone through so many different ideas and stages. I'm just curious if that happened with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Our initial idea was like going to be a long single narrative series that was like 5 to 10 episodes was our original idea.
Right.
It was going to be, it just ended up, we couldn't land on a tone that everybody was happy with. And then I don't know what fully sparked this idea, Josh. Do you remember? All I know is we somehow arrived at like little one-offs. Felt like that was easier to deal with.
I think we were just going back and forth with the idea and not feeling, I think it's just what you said, feeling like we haven't settled in it yet. And I think you called me one day and just said, what if we just wrote bad musicals? and just release them as just single bad musicals, and that would be the idea of it. And so I just think it came from your brain, and then you called me, and then we just kind of went from there.
Gabe, you seem to have a penchant for just creating things and starting things and getting people motivated to do things. Just reading about you are constantly trying to do something. Has that always been a constant in your life, and where does that fuel or fire come from?
That's funny. If you would have asked me that 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, interesting." I think the me taking my drive to make stuff more seriously is just within the last few years. I think I have always felt like more of an actor up until a couple of years ago, where it was actually my manager a couple of years ago. I wrote some songs for a thing just for a friend, and she was like, "You wrote those?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, you should actually take that seriously. Like, don't make that like that. That could just be a cute thing you do, or it could actually be a thing that you actually do. So I don't know how to answer that question other than I think, yes, it's always been in me, but it's only recently become a thing where I'm like, I've got an idea. Let's make things. Let's do something. Let's get the people together.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I'm an extrovert and I just like being around people. And, but it was one of the things that like this podcast was very fun in the difference in amount of time it takes from idea to putting it out versus other mediums. It's just like, it allows you to sort of build that muscle of like, I have an idea, let's get people together and let's finish it and put it out, as opposed to like, like film development, TV development, or Broadway show development is insane. Things
I'm talking to a lot
years.
of people lately who are really into the idea of making their own sandbox to play in, basically. And that seems to be this is the perfect format for just like, I want to do it by my rules and make my thing and do it my way. And so it's definitely clear that you have the freedom to just go and be artists. But like Josh with 2 kids and one on the like, how did you find the time? I just don't understand. You don't have this isn't your 9 to 5, and yet
this was just a side job that is just super fun. So I was able to do what I could in the evenings here at my house. I work at a studio, so whenever I had free time, I could just switch from doing one thing to doing something else. So my job is very flexible with what I can do, or what I can choose to work on during the day. So that was super beneficial. Outside of that probably would have really slowed down the process of getting these things done. But it's just doing stuff in the evenings at my kitchen table, and that really became the norm as soon as coronavirus lockdown hit. I realized we had to finish the season, and I no longer had a studio to work out of. Right. So I had to like take care of my family, and then once they went to bed, then I would set everything up at my kitchen table and like work through the night and finish episodes, and then get up the next day and do family again. And so it was very much just a fight to make time for it, even when there really wasn't much time for it.
Well, let's hear when a song that you produced that may have explored some similar themes that juggles the work versus relaxation conundrum you probably find yourself in. This is a song from Oprah's Day Off.
Who am I if I step off the gas? Have I shattered all ceilings of glass? This whole free time thing's making me gag. Name one thing that could be harder than resting. It's R&R for billionaires. A taste I haven't tasted. R&R for billionaires. It might just be time that's wasted.
That's R&R for millionaires. Billionaires? Sorry.
Billionaires.
Billionaires. Get it where you get your podcasts. That's from episode Oprah's Day Off episode.
Yeah.
Any memories from listening to that tune?
That was the first song we wrote for this series. Was
right.
R&R for Billionaires,
which was over a year ago now, I think.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Is it weird?
It's interesting that dilemma. Like as content creators or artists or whatever, you kind of are always thinking about that. Like you are your self-employer, and so that dilemma between like, do I want to be great or do I want to hang out with my wife and kid? Like that is a really hard sort of constant struggle. And It must have been nice just to have an excuse to have to sit at your kitchen table and be creative every night for you, Josh. Yeah.
Yeah. It got really, I was just fighting through falling asleep at my computer a lot of times too, because because my 2-year-old wasn't sleeping, and so I wasn't sleeping, and so it was cool to be able to do something, but I was just exhausted, man, when I was finishing up the season. It was so much fun, but it was a bit of a struggle, or a bit of an issue to figure out how to do it.
If it's not already clear, I just wanted a platform to sing and talk, and Josh just does all the actual. I don't know if that's been made clear in this episode, but I just like to hear myself talk. And
and he's the mad scientist.
Not entirely, because you wrote all the scripts, you wrote all the dialogue. You kind of did a lot of the work ahead, like front, all the pre-production, all the writing of the dialogue and stuff. So you did all that up front, and then
that's good collaboration. That's
I kind of had to
good
finish it
teamwork.
off at the end.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a lot of thinking through and a lot of creative stuff up front.
Let's take a quick break here. We'll be right back. We are here to fill the role of looking for great content for you. We are your podcast procurator. If you like this show, please check us out and visit us at thepodspotter.com and on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at thepodspotter for lots of good stuff. And please leave a review, a good one, a bad one, doesn't matter. All press is good press. Subscribe, rate, review, judge us on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word. We release every Monday with a great new review of a new pod, and we're just going to keep plowing ahead whether you like it or not. So please keep listening. And if you have suggestions for pods that you think we should feature, drop us a note on any of our social media platforms or at thepodspotter.com. Thanks, everybody.
I remember hearing on a podcast, I don't know which podcast it was, and maybe I didn't even hear it at all. I listen to so many podcasts. I just sometimes regurgitate pod facts, which is like distorted ideas from different voices.
Yeah.
Right.
And one pod fact I remember hearing is that like good collaboration isn't made. You don't find it in New York and LA. Like you make it back home with like those people that you grew up with.
Funny,
and those are the
that's
people
so
that
interesting.
like that cocktail is what makes, something great. And so it's like you don't hang out in LA, like move back home, find your people, and then come back when you have something to make.
That's
and it's clear
interesting.
that your collaboration is a product of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Growing up in Detroit.
That's so interesting because Josh and I, because I'm in LA now, but I'm in Detroit because my family's still there, semi often. There's kind of the unteachable, like same home base of just like being the same age and growing up in the same area. We have, whether we realize it or not, we have the same influences. So when we're talking about things, like we have so many similar touchstones, you know what I mean? That's so interesting to hear. This is the first time I'm hearing that as like a collaboration idea. That's so interesting because Josh and I, we immediately have a shorthand, like minute one of working together, just because, you grow up in the Detroit area and everybody knows. If you're our age, we all know who Junior is. We all know, you know what I mean? Like there's all these guys that were 5, 10, 15 years ahead of us doing stuff, guys and gals. Yeah. And so we just have the same touchstones. That's very interesting.
It's all you want as a parent is like, you just want your kids to grow up and find that person, find people that like-minded, that they enjoy and like can be creative with and stupid with and be themselves around.
From that, it's weird. Southeast Michigan, Detroit, Michigan has a lot of artistic people, creative people coming out of it. It's really bizarre. Like for some reason in all the nation, there's a little pocket in Southeast Michigan where a ton of people have come out of, like the Oakland County, Detroit world, like Junior, a lot of famous producers are from here. I guess it might be coming from Motown history, classic music, being a part of the city, but I feel super grateful to be a part of a community that has been so artistically focused.
Yeah.
It's just really funny because you wouldn't think that all of my people that I would look up to came from like the same little area.
I got to tell you, from an outsider, I'm very jealous of the Detroit vibe. It feels like a cult. It feels like a private club. Whenever I'm hanging out with people from Detroit, like I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Keegan-Michael Key. He's from Detroit. And it's like, if he met someone that was from Detroit, instantly chemistry, like they do a handshake and a thing and say secret words to each other. I'm like, what is happening right now? Describe the cult of Detroit. If you can. I guess you just did, really. It's just a like-minded sort of artistic, cultural sensibility.
There's the focus on arts, but also like the work ethic to make it happen. I think all happens out of Detroit.
That's interesting, Josh. I like that.
Yeah.
That it's like that sort of blue-collar sort of
it's
Detroit
both. It's very much
work
both.
ethic.
Yeah.
Work
interesting.
ethic, yeah.
As I'm sitting here wearing a Motown shirt. Wearing a Motown shirt.
Represent. See, it's a private club.
Yeah.
Josh, you like to just sit and talk and let people hear you, and you've created this sort of false bravado, narcissistic character that enjoys himself. Oh, sorry, Gabe. And you've created this character that does like to hear himself.
Yeah.
And I have one more round of trivia redemption for you.
Okay, let's do it.
But
all right,
I wasn't able to match the level of bravado that you brought to your character, so I enlisted some outside Broadway help. Who's going to come in and ask you this next batch of questions. This is a segment I like to do called How Well Do You Know Your Baby? I'm going to ask you 3 questions based on your own podcast to see how well you even listen to the thing or even know the thing that you made.
Oh, man.
Interesting. All right,
and you're going to hear a familiar voice helping me with these questions. Are you ready for How Well Do You Know Your Baby?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Hello, Mr. Gibbs and Colyer. It is I, contemporary, colleague, and friendly rival, PJ Adzima. In the debut hit, Loop-de-Loop My Lady, Edwin Prescott, man of 1,000 dreams, describes his passion thusly. Finish the lyric. I'm at my desk late at night, angling lines with my protractor, but to be the very best...
I got this one. A loop-de-loop is what I'm after.
Nice.
Let's hear if that is correct.
A loop-de-loop is what I'm after. That is correct. A loop-de-loop is what I'm after.
Wait. So Josh hasn't met PJ, but PJ and I did Book of Mormon tour together. You guys know PJ?
I know PJ. Yeah, PJ's a good friend. PJ knows everybody. Yeah. He's the best.
Sweet Peach.
Nothing but good things to say about you.
My dude.
Yeah. So we got him. We got him for these questions. You answered the first one correctly. Let's hear question number 2, PJ, if you wouldn't mind.
In Iron Chef, the musical, the powerful Iron Chef Kat Cora is described as entering the scene with these 3 qualities, making it, quote, hard for anyone not to be intimidated. Here they are. Grace, poise, and...
Oh,
I know it. Do you know it, Josh?
no, it's you.
I think the line is straight up wealth.
Oh, yeah.
Grace Poison, straight up wealth. Is that the line?
Let's hear how well Gabe knows his pod.
Oh, no.
Straight up wealth. Yes, straight up wealth. A fantastic moment of literary genius.
That's right.
PJ was so game, man. He was so game. He was like, oh, let's go. He listened. He was a fan of the pod, and he was like, let's go.
Sweet PJ.
Guys, you got 2 correct. You're getting your pod up here no matter what here after this. So congratulations on 2 out of 3. It is a deep cut.
Thank you.
Let's hear and see if you can get a clean sweep. And if you get the clean sweep, you go on the top. You're a top shelf pod. You're not just a bottom shelf pod. So
man,
you're still playing for something here.
Okay.
PJ, take it away for question number 3.
And now for the final question, which I'm sure will not be a problem for you gentlemen. In the breathtaking coming-of-age musical Driver's Ed, our protagonists are stumped by this trivia question. You, of course, having fully embodied every character you've ever written, should have no problem remembering that if coming to a full stop at 60 miles per hour takes about 60 feet of distance, how much distance would a car travel when stopping from 80 miles per hour? Well...
Oh no. Okay, so it's because the joke is that it's 60 to 60 on the first one, but then it increases exponentially the second time. But it was 80 to... Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Gabe's standing up. Here's me.
He wanted to
I'm standing up. I'm pacing. Oh, no. Okay.
Just take a minute.
I want to say I want to say this is not my final answer. Josh, do you have? Does 100 sound right or no? Oh no.
Maybe.
If coming to a full stop at 60 miles an hour takes about 60 feet of distance, how much distance would a car travel?
Oh, is this when like
80?
the student answers or like the class answers?
Yeah,
like,
they get it wrong. It's right at the top of the episode.
So we're saying what they say or what the actual answer?
What the answer is. This is good. Gabe, help Josh because he can access the file from his weird music brain.
Yeah.
I know
if you
what
sing
the
it for him.
students say.
Say it.
Yeah, they say
100 feet. Right?
They say no. They say
no. They say 80 feet.
But then it's 100, right? It is 100. Is the correct answer?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go with 100.
Let's listen to PJ.
Oh no!
It would take almost 160 feet.
No!
I'm sure you guessed that correctly.
No, we didn't, PJ. We did
Congratulations, boys. Till next time.
Oh,
Sweet PJ. Oh, I'm sitting back down.
Thank you, PJ. Sweet PJ. Had so much fun doing that. Guys, 2
We
out
were
of 3
so
still
close.
gets your swag featured on our bookshelf. This is sort of beautiful what happened here. They sent us a mug from Pod Swag. We ordered a musicals that never made it. Pod. This is going to be a visual joke for you listeners. And there is the label is the same color as the mug. You can't actually see what the thing is. So we're going to proudly display this musical that almost never made it until you add hot water to it. And then it's a temperature thing.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently. And then you get to see the label. Look at that. That was a musical that almost never made it.
Oh
but
my
given the right concoction,
That's great.
Given the right chemistry, this musical got to see the light of day. So happy accident there. That'll be displayed forever. No one will ever know that it's your podcast, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm never going to put hot water in it again.
Yeah.
It's just a black mug. But we will proudly feature musicals
But we'll
that never
know.
made it.
Thank you
guys
so
will
much.
know. You guys, you ask your guests on your pod if they'd like to share any advice to aspiring artists to varying degree of success. They answer the question, but I'm curious if you have anything that you would like to share to actually, to composers or aspiring actors that are thinking about getting into this. What have you learned, from your years of experience, and maybe just to make it more of to make it a better question. What have you learned from just producing, maybe this pod?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. Like anything else artistic, sometimes you just have to spend a lot of time on it and have a lot of patience with it before you nail down the right vibe for something. My friend that I look up to a lot here once told me just to continue doing it for fun. Just record your friends and finish their projects for fun, and then that will, that will only help you as you do projects in the future. So it's really just about working all the time on stuff that you want to work on and finishing it, and then kind of working through the hard moments, even if it's not exactly right. At least you finished it and you work through it. I think that's super important to kind of literally just push through it. If you're tired, like I was at midnight, you have to push through it. And I don't know.
That's super good. But follow that spark, that little thing that gets you excited and makes you want to wake up. Like whatever that is, pull that thread and keep doing it. Yeah, that's good.
Similarly, my wife and I actually talk a lot about sort of the rhythms of creation and the rhythms of art in general, and kind of how Josh and I sort of identified, we're not the first people to do this, but pointed out sort of tentpole structural moments in musicals and kind of built on those. Like the reason I knew how those were supposed to feel was just because I had done them so many times and the rhythms of that existed in me. I don't mean necessarily musical rhythms, but like just the patterns and the things like that. I think just kind of doing it. My cousin who's a writer and a novelist in Minnesota, posted a thing about art being like taking out the trash, just like something that you have to do every single day. And in order to maintain like a clean and healthy brain and a clean and healthy creative process, often we feel like it's one big push, but the more successful endeavors are more like taking out the trash every day. Like I'm working on a screenplay right now, and it's just about like just writing something bad every day, just like getting like 5 bad pages, like taking out the trash every day, and then you kind of go back and pour over it. And that's been something that's been on my brain. It's just like just taking out the trash. That's all you got to do today. It's just that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It takes the ideas in your head to never leave. You need to always be thinking about something. At least for me, and that's what I found to be true with working through anything artistic. I just literally just think about it a lot. Even if I'm not recording something or writing something down, I'm just always thinking about, okay, how do I get a better drum sound? I'm like, my wife asked me what I'm thinking about. I'm literally thinking about miking a drum set and how I can get something to sound better. So it's just always in the back of your mind.
Unplug time is dormancy is not always off the clock, is what you're saying. It's a great note because I feel it a lot with this. Like I spend a lot of time just kind of, thinking about, you guys and interview and talking to you.
Sure.
Like it's not time off the clock. So that's a really good note to anybody looking to get into this, that that just thinking and meditation is not necessarily, don't look at it as inaction.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Your brain chewing on it without you doing any physical, tangible work is a huge part of the process. Just your brain chewing on it. Totally, Zach. I think that's right on.
Guys, I know better than to ask you to tell us what's coming up for you. You just don't ask actors that are artists or creatives that. It's just not nice. But if there is anything that you wanted to plug or anything else that you wanted to talk to our pod people about, feel free to do that. And I won't put any expectations on a season 2 because these are weird times, but I do hope there is another season of musicals that never made it.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Us too. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to do another one. Right now, of course, given that ours involves a room full of people to record, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
I just read that Walmart is converting parking lots for drive-in movie theaters, and I'm wondering if there's if Broadway if musicals have come up with anything other than Disney Plus airing, Hamilton,
airing Hamilton.
Are you talking to your people? Is there anything that like Broadway is figuring out where we can get some of this content to people that crave it?
Yeah,
maybe Best Buy parking lots, maybe Applebee's parking lots.
Applebee's.
Yeah, every Applebee's.
Nobody's going to Applebee's right now. Guys, let us use your parking lots for theater.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Well, you're specifically positioned to only benefit from this because fans of musicals, there are 6 fully produced, beautiful little musical nuggets out there waiting for you on all platforms, wherever you get your podcast. You're on Stitcher, you're on iTunes, is that right?
Yes.
And maybe some others that I don't even know about?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the available streaming.
All the available pods. Check out Musicals That Never Made It with Gibbs and Colyer. Guys, it is the last 5 minutes of my podcast, and I have a running theory that no one listens to the last 5 minutes of podcasts. By now, they're done cooking or they're done with their jog, and so I kind of just use this time to just recite poetry or to tell a secret or tell off a former boss. And I thought today I'd apologize to Jamie Pereira in the 4th grade. Jamie, wherever you are, I had a huge crush on Jamie Pereira. I got sat, catty corner to real close to her, big crush. And at the end of the first day, I farted, and I remember actively trying. I thought as a 4th grader, if I sniff really hard, it won't get to her. She won't smell it. And so I was just like, trying to inhale my own fart, and I didn't. And I think I got it. I didn't think I got it. I was a kid. You don't know. You just think you can eliminate those fart particles by inhaling really hard.
Bring it right back in.
So I needed
Zach,
to apologize.
The thing
to
about
her.
that is like there are a finite amount of fart particles.
I think that's what we're learning about right now. That air particles travel, and you can contaminate the air with them. So I wasn't so dumb, right?
But that's what I'm saying is like there are a finite amount. So if you could sniff them all up, I mean, I don't know if you're humanly able to, but
I wasn't just going schnoz. I was going mouth. From what I remember, I was trying to consume the horror, the fetid horror that emanated.
Just
terrified that, and she would know, and I don't know.
It might
were
have
friends
helped.
after that.
It might have helped.
What we know about air from Fauci these days is that God, had we all just been wearing face masks in 4th grade, I wouldn't have been so traumatized by that experience.
You'd have been fine. Was there noise too?
I think the noise was covered. I think it was that bad that it was silent
My
and
man.
wretched. I just remember it being horrible.
At least you didn't
embarrassing.
hear it coming from you necessarily, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
that's true.
she couldn't localize it. She couldn't. But I thought that,
That's good.
you know, when something like that at that age, you cramp up, you know, you get sweat starts coming. So she probably identified that I was sweaty and tense and
inhaling
nervous.
so hard. So
Unbelievable. Something's wrong with that.
This might be him.
It's definitely him. Yeah. Guys, if you feel like sharing anything, now would be the time because after all, no one is listening.
Okay, well then I'll confess that I had headgear in elementary school. I had headgear. Did you know that, Josh?
No. How long did you have it for?
I had headgear for enough time that it felt like when I was in 5th grade,
Can you
it felt
describe
like
the
an
headgear?
eternity. Yes, I can. And it's exactly what you're thinking. It was the big sort of bow and arrow-esque piece of metal. For the listeners,
man.
I'm taking my fingers and drawing a U around my mouth, just as you would imagine. That attached into like a retainer, I think it was, because my front teeth were big and too far forward. It was a full-on orthodontia nightmare. And it was I lived in such fear of having people find out of that. So it is liberating here on this podcast to say out loud, 5th grade class of Hamlin Elementary School, I had headgear. And I'm proud.
So the headgear did not make the trip on sleepovers.
No way. Are you
yeah.
kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's no way. You just go I'm going to set myself back a day and it's worth
I'll just deal with it.
For the social. Yeah.
Was there any pushback from the folks? Were they like, got to take your headgear? You got it. You can't miss a night. Or are they cool? They got it. They got it.
I think they got it. I think they were like, dude, that's tough.
That's rough. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In 5th grade with your friends.
I can't believe that was ever the standard. Can you believe it? Like, considering now, it's just
insane.
like, pop in a little piece of plastic. Like, that's really the
Right.
fact that we made kids put these giant hunks of metal and then, okay, sleep tight, honey. It's just
and
horrible.
it was like attached with like a little, like sort of yarmulke seatbelt material that then like grabbed the outside. Dude, it was like that little girl in Finding Nemo who taps the glass of the thing, how she's got that big thing. It was exactly that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's not great.
We got headgear. We got farticles. Josh, anything?
Yeah. Well, let me just take this time. This might take 20 or 30 minutes. I'm just
Do it. No one's listening. It's fine.
Oh no.
No,
Seems like Josh needs this.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this. Let me take this time and just vocalize my disappointment in the construction of children's bicycles.
Yeah.
Josh
has a 6 and a 2-year-old.
I have a 6 and a 2-year-old. My 6-year-old this summer.
Prime bike age.
Yep.
Prime.
We got him a bicycle with training wheels. Super pumped to give it to him. I spent time putting it together. And this was probably a week and a half ago. And not a day goes by where I don't fix it. I full on have to fix the bike. Like nuts and bolts aren't the correct size. I had to make it to Lowe's before they closed for the night so that the hardware guy could help me find the right bolt and nut for the training wheel.
No.
I had to put my own parts, my own thinking and money into fixing it. Every hour something every hour something happens. So this is my time just to proclaim
manufacturers,
my
anyone
disappointment in the manufacturing of children. So today yesterday he was riding it, and the training wheels are made of metal, and they're starting to bend because he's putting too much pressure on the left and right, and so I have to like push it in so that it like becomes even again, enough for him to ride it. And I'm telling you, I think I'm just going to send it back and.
It feels like a perfect opportunity to let your son listen to Ollie Ollie Oxenfree.
Yeah.
Get him into skateboarding. Forget the bike.
I got you a skateboard, kid.
Here you go, kid.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Discussed in manufacturing, farticles, and headgear. but no one heard it because no one is here anymore.
Yeah.
The
thank
podcast that you're not listening to is Musicals That Never Made It. Put it in your library. It's darn good stuff. Guys, I hope to see some more, listen to some more. And thank you for sharing your gifts with us. I appreciate it. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This has been the Pod Spotter, where we showcase the pods that you absolutely need to know about. But if you have one that you think that we should know about, please let us know via thepodspotter.com or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or just yell really loudly and I'll hear you. Thank you. This has been Zach Robinos. The Pod Spotter is created by the Price Brothers, produced by Oink Inc. Radio, associate producer Tori Adams, and is recorded and produced at Baker Sound in Philadelphia.